reading the news or thinking about difficult, complex situations that you might be in or relationships that are struggling is a good way to ruin your morning. Or you can flip it and say, what an opportunity. I have been furious with the people who manage the building where I live because they were not following ADA rules appropriately, and this is not my opinion, it's actually fact. I have no interest in getting litigious or whatever at this point, but their reaction to the failures, the repeated failures of making it very difficult for me to move about in this space, were to put stickers up. These lovely pictures of wheelchairs on the windows and on the walls. I don't know what kind of bullshit that is, but that was super funny as a reaction to me asking for help, for me asking for access to the elevator consistently, for me to ask for access to my car and to the doors that open the garage consistently, and doors that are appropriate for someone who is handicapped or disabled. The stickers were so funny to me because I had requested that we talk in person so many times, and they took the time to come over here to put the stickers up, but not to have a conversation, a human conversation, one-on-one, face-to-face. This could solve everything in every situation. If you have a disagreement with anyone in your life, one-on-one, person-to-person, do not get other people involved. Talk to them directly. Now, the direct approach is not always great for me because I can be like a bull in a china shop. And I know this. I don't do pleasantries. I don't sandwich it and say, hey, it's a very beautiful day. Thank you for this, that, and the other. And by the way, could you fix this? And then sandwich it again by saying, and I also like how you did this. I forget to sandwich the comments and the criticisms I have on things. I go for the jugular. And then I go for the heart. I need to flip this. I'm aware. I am aware. I am aware. However, style and production and all this presentation doesn't really matter. What matters is what we do. We're not who we say we are. We are what we do. How do I treat people I can get nothing from? People who have disappointed me, and people who have done things that have hurt me and others, especially the others part. I have no right to be so angry on behalf of others, but I do that anyway. I get so self-righteous when I see things like racism or ableism or ethnocentrism. On behalf of others, I am outraged. I'll stomp my fist about people being harassed for wearing the hijab or something. You know, I mean, it really is funny. Angry white woman in the suburbs in designer jeans, angry on your behalf. I'm not saying that I live the life of Riley over here. I'm not living large, but I have luxuries that 99% of the world probably doesn't have, you know, like a washer, dryer, running water. I do not work in the fields with my hands because I don't have to, and I honor people who do. My grandfather was a farmer. My father grew up on a farm. He was always baffled that we would pay to go into a room called something like a gym, and we would lift heavy objects from one side of the room to the other. He could not understand that concept. He's like, whoa, there's work to do out here, and you're paying to move this block of weight to the other side of the room, basically, for an hour or two each day. Why don't you just get out here and do some work, kid? And eventually I did. When I asked my dad why he didn't participate in sports, he used to say, there's work to do. You know, I had to bale hay, tend to the animals, the plants, the gardens, the crops. There was so much to do until the dinner bell. And at the dinner bell, which was roughly 6:30 p.m. each night, you'd go in and say a lengthy prayer of gratitude to your maker, no matter what. And this thing would go on for about 5 minutes. And when you're a child and your mouth is so dry and you are salivating looking at the jam and butter and Wonder Bread pile on the table and the ears of corn and the fried stuff and all that jazz, you can't sit still. My grandmother used to pinch me under the table. She would tell me I was going to hell. And she meant it. She really, dementia or Alzheimer's was a tricky thing. She was indoctrinated and learned that from her family. If you were a child who was heard and seen as someone who was fidgeting during grace, you got punished. And boy, did I get punished a lot for fidgeting. Years later, this word, or this rather acronym ADD or ADHD came forward. And even though that word's forward, I don't think it's really understood. It doesn't matter. Who doesn't have distraction? Like Dory the fish. We've got about 6 seconds. That's what a TikTok is. You look at it for about 6 seconds and then you go on to the next. The memory is not being worked there. Of course we're losing our memories. And then you go and you say, well, I'm going to live in reality for a while. I'll turn my phone off and I'll just read the news. You start reading the news and suddenly you're in a PDJames novel where we're in a post-apocalyptic world already and it's going to end and we've poisoned ourselves and AI is taking over and boom, pop, fizz. There goes humanity. If you want to be depressed, read about AI that is untethered, unboundaried, I don't even know where to begin. I'm so flummoxed over this. There's nothing I can do. I'm just relating and responding and reflecting. But AI has its brilliance as well. There are things that can affect us that will be positive. I just wish there was a little more structure and some discipline and maybe go a little slower with the AI, please. You watch Ex Machina and there you go. She peeled the skin off and took off, locked that guy in, and bye-bye. I don't want to give anything up, but hey, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you better check it out. So, here we are, living in a virtual world. There's a scene in a movie that I recently saw where one of the characters says, nobody cares about reality anymore. Why do you? No wonder the youths are doing gaming, in the virtual reality world. What choice have they? Look at the bleak landscape we have provided. I need some good news, folks. Don't you? I started listening to Maria Shriver, who has this good news bit that she does, and I've listened to some Good News Network stuff and other beautiful examples of humanity being incredibly thoughtful, wise, empathic, compassionate, and brilliantly helpful, supportive, looking out for the greater good of all, looking into the community aspect of how we live. We know that duality is a lie. Everyone knows this deep down. We just need that little tap on the shoulder to remind us we're not alone here. Not only are you not alone, but you are never forgotten. Your place is important. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think I think of you or what you think of me. I'm just playing messenger here. And you know what happens to messengers. But I'm doing it anyway because, bullets bounce in a way, like the thought bullets that people provide, the opinions of people who call themselves fans and suddenly become your enemy. I have no interest in someone who says, oh my God, I can't wait to talk to you. And they come on so strong and they keep calling me. Then they disappear and then they dislike me because I don't get back to them in the way that they expected. Honestly, I don't get half of these calls, messages, or emails because I'm not the one checking my email. It turns out I had to hire somebody to do that because I can't keep up. My hands do not work. It reminds me of the people who used to approach Brian Grant and ask him for an autograph. Have they not heard that Parkinson's makes it very difficult to write, and that shaking makes it hard to hold a pen. You don't even have to be informed about micrographia to know this. I guess this morning's chat is a reminder to myself and others to have common sense. This disease is a killer. It does take people out because it weakens the systems of immunity, it inflames things, and it causes other problems. We all have comorbidities. Recently, I was talking with a friend who is struggling with much more than just Parkinson's. This friend has been close to me since I can remember, really paying attention. And I know this friend will be okay. But when you hear the word tumor, and when you hear the stages of something, it is horrifying. So not only is this a talk for common sense and an appeal to be more humane with each other and give each other lots of space for messing up, but to remember memento mori. We will all die, and that is a fact. We're all going there. And you may say, so what? Why are you telling me this? This is awful. It's actually a brilliant moment to pause and say, we get to be here right now. I don't know what position you find yourself in while you're listening to this, but I happen to be standing up and actually walking. This does not happen every day. I'm thrilled to be walking. I want to kiss babies. I want to stare at puppies and pet them, and I want to go help somebody across the street. I want to give somebody something that will help them a little bit. And I do that every day. Quietly, I don't say a word. Random acts of kindness are where it's at. Be that person that turns the faucet on for the dog who's thirsty. Be that person who looks at someone who just really messed up and says, it's okay. In fact, I'm going to say something a little bit radical that I don't think many people would agree with, but I believe bullies should be hugged. I believe bullies need tenderness and love. And I've been bullied a lot. And you know how I feel about bullies. I hate bullying. It's usually the cowards that hang out in a group, picking on one. It's an awful thing to do. But think about what pain they're in to get to that point. I saw my bullies, by the way, from my history in the last several years. I handed them a rose. It wasn't my idea. My niece was in the class of someone who had been her teacher. Seriously, this person's a nursery school teacher, which is really funny. She's not tender. She's not gentle. Well, she wasn't when I knew her. But I believe people can change. All those years I had thought of her, and I remember thinking, I'm just going to punch her in the face when I see her next. I'd been training in the UFC gym. I didn't have Parkinson's killing me at that time, and I was so ready for battle, escalate, aggression, get her back. I saw her, we made eye contact, and I thought, wow, I feel a gentleness and a softness and a sadness for her. Her eyes were sad. I almost cried, and I said, we're square. She pretended she didn't know who I was, which was also very funny. And maybe I'm unrecognizable, or maybe she likes to forget what she's done. But I got apologies from her crew, people who stepped forward and said, hey, I'm really sorry about that. That was remarkable and unusual and also beautiful. You don't get that very often in life. When someone really goes after you and they say, I don't know why I did that, but by the way, I named my kid after you. I was speechless. I said, what? Yeah, I've always admired you, and I was envious of your light. I was floored and honored and humbled. And I don't see myself. I don't know Heather. I don't know myself. You know me because you get to see me, but you don't get to know a you, whatever your name is. Say your name is Petra. You don't get to know a Petra because you're you, right? Isn't it beautiful to get to know a you, little by little, in quiet, in solitude? And here's how you get to know you. You sit quietly and breathe alone in a room for as long as you can stand it. And you watch your mind like a screen that has a projection upon it. And you are the projector of these images, or a part of you is, rather. So you're watching these images projected by your mind. And guess what? You have a wild mind, don't you? Everyone says, oh, just sit quietly and quiet your mind. No problem. What if there's no quietude? Or what if there is? Some days the mind's going to be loud. Loud as a motorbike, loud as a bomb. And you'll say, oh, this is horrible. I can't sit still. It's torturous. Other days, you'll breathe and you'll be able to separate this a little bit, tease it out, and you'll witness your mind moving quickly, moving slowly, making up stories. It's so creative, isn't it? Tripping on the past, trying to rework things and heal things, and then future tripping with an amount of anxiety. This is normal. If you didn't have a mind that was wild, you'd be dead. Meaning, like, if you never have thoughts while you're sitting there, you don't have a pulse. That's just impossible. Because the mind, and the ego specifically, needs a job like a cattle dog. It's going to run around in circles like a little monkey. It's going to just bug you. That is its job. Your job is simply to breathe and acknowledge it. No judgment. Oh, there you are. There you are, judgment. There you are, stories. Welcome, anxiety. Don't stay too long. Which leads me to my next point. I'm going to be doing a video. I don't know how I'll do this, but I want to do something along the lines of juggling the Jenkins. What a brilliant idea. In my morning meeting in my mind, dystonia is going to show up. Bradykinesia. All kinds of things like dyskinesia. I call it disconesia because you're moving all around, jerking around. It's very embarrassing. What about freezing? I got up to the cash register the other day trying to pay for something, and I completely could not move. And she's like, yes, can I help you? I didn't even have the ability to speak. I was such a weirdo. It was so awkward, so incredibly awkward. And time moves swiftly when you're standing there frozen. I started to panic and it got worse. I took a deep breath and I thought, wow, imagine that this is a stage and we are all actors on it. Not to, dissociate, but to actually associate more. So I stood there and my part was to not soothe the others, although I did that as well, but to simply focus on taking steps away from the counter, which is exactly what I did, quietly and silently for once. And I heard the woman at the counter say, she is so weird. And you know what? I am so weird. Sometimes, and that's okay too. Remember, everything is temporary. The next day I went in there and I was walking fine, and I said, I was frozen the other day. Sorry if I made you so uncomfortable. I have something called Parkinson's. And my meds abruptly stopped working without any warning whatsoever. This happens a lot, and it was super embarrassing, and I hope I didn't upset anybody. Because, she was like noticeably distressed for a split second there. Like, are you okay? Do you have a stroke or something? And she said, oh yeah, I was actually worried about you because it was really odd. I've never seen anybody do that before. And I said, and I hope you don't see too many more people doing this because it's super unpleasant for them, for sure, and also for you. Anyway, we'll be doing this scene called Juggling the Jenkins, Parkinson style, once I get appropriate release from the owner of that content. I don't want to copy her content without getting her permission first. So, thank you for listening to this morning meeting. And when you do peruse the social media, remember the stories in your own head. Remember that you're just one person wandering around your kitchen. Maybe you're shuffling like me, just like me, with lots of thoughts, wild thoughts. Watch them and say, oh, there you are. Welcome. Have a seat. take a sip of tea. Just don't stay too long. Remember, they're all moving. Everything's moving. It's like a parade of people coming in to have tea with you. Don't let the depression and the anxiety stay too long. They're liars. Some of them are liars, you know that. Take your places and get ready and scene.